The Industrial Revolution and its consequences have been a disaster for the human race. Fyodor Kaczynski, or more commonly known as the Unabomber. The Unabomber was a domestic terrorist who committed many horrific crimes in the late 1900s. The crimes he committed left a lasting impact on America and its society. I remember learning a little bit about the Unabomber in school and learning more about it from what my parents told me. Since then, I have done extensive research on the topic. The main topic of the speech is to inform you guys about the Unabomber and the lasting effect he had on America and society. Today, I will be covering the background of the Unabomber, the horrific crimes he committed, and the impact he left on American society. The Unabomber led an abnormal life, starting from his childhood and transitioning into adulthood. He was born on May 22, 1942, in Chicago, Illinois. He had one other sibling, which was his younger brother, David. His parents pushed him very hard in school, and at the age of 16, he attended Harvard University on full scholarship. At Harvard, he studied mathematics. At Harvard, he also participated in a psychological experiment conducted by Henry A. Murray. And Henry A. Murray was a very renowned professor at Harvard, so Fyodor Kaczynski saw it as an honor to be accepted into his research experiment. The experiment asked the participants to write an essay on their personal philosophies. They were then hooked up to electrodes to measure their psychological responses. And instead of being asked questions about the philosophies, they ended up turning into subject to hours of insults and personal attacks. It was believed that Kaczynski participated in this research experiment for up to 200 hours, and many believe that it led to his emotional and physical well-being being damaged. He continued to stay at Harvard, and he graduated in 1962 with a bachelor's degree in mathematics. He then went on to earn his master's and doctorate at the University of Michigan. In 1967, he became an assistant professor at the University of Berkeley and then resigned in 1969. After resigning, he moved back to Chicago, Illinois with his parents, and then later moved to Montana and built a cabin and lived in the cabin. This cabin was isolated from society completely. Next, we're going to be talking about the crimes the Unabomber committed. The Unabomber committed many horrific crimes between the 1970s and 1990s. In 1978, the Unabomber sent a homemade bomb to the Northwestern University, leaving minor cuts and bruises on the unfortunate security officer who opened it. This was the Unabomber's first attack. This was the beginning of the Unabomber's 17-year killing spree. In 1979, he targeted American Flight 444, where 12 had to be treated for smoke inhalation. The FBI gave him the Unabomber, UN for University, and A for Airlines. This was because he mainly targeted airlines and universities. In total, the Unabomber committed 14 attacks involving 16 bombs, killing 3 and injuring more than 23. In 1995, he released his manifesto called Industrial Society and Its Future. And the manifesto talked about how technology would be the destruction of society and the world. And the Unabomber basically committed these crimes to open people up and make people more aware, and he wanted people to listen to him, so that's why he sent bombs out. Fyodor Kaczynski's younger brother saw similarities in his brother's letters that Kaczynski used to write to him and the manifesto. On April 3rd, 1996, Fyodor Kaczynski was taken into custody. He was indicted on 10 counts of bomb-related activity and 3 counts of murder. He chose not to plead insanity because he wanted people not to think he was crazy and mentally ill. He wanted people to believe what they read in the manifesto. And instead, he pleaded guilty to all the charges on January 22nd, 1998. He is now serving 8 life sentences without parole and is serving his time in Florence, Colorado. Discussing these crimes allows us to view the impact made on America. Finally, we will be talking about the impact the Unabomber had on America and society. The first thing that actually ended up happening was linguistic analysis was introduced into the FBI. This technique was unheard of before the Unabomber, and it's actually how they captured the Unabomber. They used the letters from Theodore's brother David to compare them to the manifesto, and they saw the similarities in the writing, and that's how he was captured. It also made more people aware of technology and the impact it was creating on society. Unfortunately, the Unabomber won in some way because people did read the manifesto and some people did believe in what he had to say. It also opened up people to bombings and made people more aware of the world they live in now. American security was increased from then on because of people like Theodore Kaczynski. In conclusion, the main topic of the speech was to inform you guys about the Unabomber and the effects he had on America. The Unabomber grew up in an abnormal childhood that led him to do some horrific things, and which ultimately led to his downfall. This man is unfortunately someone America will never forget, but hopefully can learn from his ways to analyze and stop other criminals who threaten this country.